It is time to review some series continuations. Hello everyone, welcome back to A Fictional Escapist. My name is Kris, and today's video is the Amarah by L.L. Macrae and Stones of Light by Zack Arglye Rapid Book Reviews. Before we do jump into the reviews, make sure you're checking that description box down below for links to my Discord and social media, should you be interested. I'm on Twitter now. I don't know how to use it, but I'm there, so you can find me over there should you so choose. Now, before we actually go into reviews, I will say that, like last time when I did some series continuation reviews, it is quite difficult to do these without going into any spoilers, so there will be spoiler sections or slight spoiler sections for both of these in terms of earlier books. I will of course try to keep these as vague as possible so they're not completely ruined for you, but if you haven't read them, check the timestamps down below. I will have spoiler free and spoiler filled section. The spoiler free section are just going to be basically my thoughts about the book rather than the plot of the book itself, so check the timestamps because they will be in there. I am going to start with Amarah, this book behind me, and it is beautiful. Look at this delightful green, and this character is shaping up to be one heck of a character in this series. And it is no secret that I love the world of Lunaria so much, and I had such a good time with this book. It really got into the heart of what makes this world a high fantasy world to watch out for. Amarah is the third installment of the World of Lunaria by L.L. Macrae, and it is such a delightful continuation of the series. Amarah once again expands the world of Lunaria, and it also heightens the stakes, and provides a multitude of action-packed adventure that only this motley crew know how to deliver. I will say by book 3 our characters are fairly set in stone in terms of we know how they react to the world, we know who they are as people, and we know how they react to others around them, and now we're getting to learn more of the heart of this world and what makes everyone tick. So the series has followed a really great series formula. We have book 1, Marauder, where we sort of set up who everyone was, we did a little bit of world exploration, and we did a task. In book 2 we slowed right down, we got to learn about the characters and the world and some of those internal politics, and in book 3 we ramp up those internal politics and just the stakes get higher because we now know who our characters are and we're starting to see how they interact with the world and just how important those interactions are, which is amazing. Going into, I guess, slight spoilers for the earlier books, like I said, timestamps will be down below. In this installment, we do mainly follow Amarah, our sky pirate. She's agreed to help an old friend with an impossible task, and in doing so, she hopes to learn about magics that may help her fallen friend and also help her seek revenge on an Aurelian that she doesn't like very much and has done her wrong. Remembering that Aurelians are the bird-like race within this series who reside in the floating cities of Oran. Luckily, she is a bloody sky pirate, and B, the best at what she does, therefore seeing no problem earning a little gold on the way to achieve her goals. Remember when I said that the stakes heighten? Well, the political instability between the Varkanes, or the snakes, and the Idolan, the shifters, grows as new King Sapora seeks out the ancient arcs, believing that these ancient and dangerous gods will grant him the power he needs to bring peace to Lunaria, and he doesn't really mind how much blood has to be shed of innocence in order to unleash them. Although he thinks he is doing the right thing, the Idolans have had enough and they are ready to rise, and I think that putting Princess Isa on the throne is the way to ensure their safety. It soon becomes apparent that the familial relations between these two species are all that is holding this world together, and they're at breaking point. Sensing unrest, Captain Morgan, who wasn't super present in the second book but was quite prevalent in the first book, decides that he isn't very good at following instructions given to him by superiors, and he needs to hold his own in order to achieve some good. He will no longer sit by and take orders from King Sapora while he watches the world crumble around him. He heads to the university town of Beryl, where we meet up with another character that was big in book 1 and wasn't so much in book 2, because he's determined to find out all he can about the ancient magic Ra, but he must learn to play by the rules. Alright, that's it for the plot. The spoilers have ended. We're just going to talk about my thoughts now. Like I said earlier, I think Amarah is an exceptional book 3 of a long-running series. The reason for this being is Amarah takes the stakes that we've been sort of building up between book 1 and 2 and says, you thought you knew where we were going, but this world is so much deeper than you gave me credit for. For my fans of political fantasy, this book is where the ante is really upped up. We are still exploring the world, we are still coming to understand how deep these characters are as they start to open up their own personal battles and continue to fight against some of their past learnings to achieve their goals, and the magic system has completely blown apart. The magic system was by far my favorite aspect of this book. We get to learn so much more about how it works, what its limitations are, and it was just delightful to get to go deeper and deeper and just really feel how rich this world is. To help sort of aid in explaining the magic system, one of our characters does go to the university to learn about magic, but it's not just him who is getting the lesson. We as the reader get to learn in-depth information about each of the people, the creatures, and the legendary weaponry that we have followed since book 1 within these pages. The political intrigue, the family drama, and the threat of an uprising intertwines deliciously, but I can't give away too much. You'll just have to go and read the series. The World of Lunaria as a series has been such a highlight of my reading year, and I cannot wait to continue on with Isa, even if I'm a little bit scared of becoming impatient as I wait for book 5, Cole, to come out in the future. And honestly, I can already see myself rereading this once I get the second edition of Marauder, and also when book 6 is coming out, I would like to host a full channel-wide read of the World of Lunaria. But don't wait. Go and read it and then come and reread it with me. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. If you have not read the World of Lunaria yet, and you like high fantasy, you like political fantasy, you like character-driven stories, you like an epic world, L.L. Macrae has some of the best world-building abilities that I have read this year, then you are missing out. Go and buy it. Go and get them and read them. No, I won't shut up about them. Alright, that is it for Amarah by L.L. Macrae. Let's move on to Stones of Light by one Mr. Zack Arglye. In my opinion, Stones of Light really takes the Threadlight series up a notch. The characters deepen, the plot expands, and the magic system explodes. That is something that has happened in both of the books in this review, is the magic system is blown apart, and we get to look at it in a much deeper and more satisfying way for each of these series. Now, being a book 2 in a series, this one is quite hard to go into without giving you any sort of plot points, without some minor spoilers for book 1, which was Voice of War. If you haven't read it and you are interested in doing so, then just skip to the timestamps below, because we're going to spoilers in 3, 2, 1. The apogee that we were introduced to in book 1, the big bad, has won, and it has taken over Kris Valerian's mind. His only option is to flee, to save his family and the people around him from the horror that he has just unleashed. In hiding, he has to fight back for his sanity. He has to take it back from the apogee before it is too late and he loses himself completely. Willow, his mother, refuses to stay put and disappears after her son. He needs answers, and she's the only one who can provide them, so she best find him fast. Alvarax, who was introduced towards the end of book 1, seeks refuge with the woman and child he saved in the madness. Kris's wife and son mourn their loss and hope they will one day see their loved ones again. They, along with the remaining Zeta people, seek refuge from the destruction of the Farrenwild. The core seal that had kept them all safe is now broken, and unspeakable evils are seeping out into the night. The problem is no one can see these evil beings unless they have access to threadlight flowing through their veins, meaning any acromats or those without any magic in their veins are unable to see them and are now in danger. Not to mention the current body of government who are trusted with keeping them all safe. Now, if you remember the end of Voice of War, Laurel was in a pretty precarious situation, but she is alive and desperate to see threadlight once again. She will stop at nothing to feel that power running through her veins once more, even if it means siding with the very people that she was trying to stop only weeks before. That is pretty much the plot. Like I said, it is very spoilery for Voice of War, unfortunately, but I couldn't really not say anything. So those are the plot points. Hopefully this next bit will make sense to those who haven't read the book but still want to know my thoughts on the second in a series. Like I said earlier, Stones of Light really did help me personally as a reader to expand the world and the characters and made me care a hell of a lot more for the people in this story. Without going back into spoilers, Kris's character becomes much more interesting in my opinion. I found him to be overly nice in the first book, and I think he is just a nice character, and that is a criticism that I have heard of this series the whole way through, is the characters are quite nice, but I think he really deepens and gets a little bit of oomph in this second book, which really excited me as he grew as a character and he starts to really come into his own and starts to expand upon being the nice guy, but also being that protector that we were promised in book 1. The apogee continues to try and force its way into his thought patterns, and he has to continually fight to gain any sort of control. His development in this book is a lot darker from book 1, which I really appreciated. But in fact, it wasn't just Kris who grew in some way. Each of our characters got a heck of a lot more depth and became more like players in this book rather than sort of pawns, and it was really fun for me as a reader to start seeing those pieces be put together. My favourite part of this book has to be Threadlight. The magic exploded out of the page of this book, and we got such an in-depth look of how Threadlight works, and it was awesome. Threadlight is a really cool magic system. That being said, I think Voice of War did an excellent job of letting the reader discover the magic authentically. It was explained well, it was shown, but it was a slow process. Threadlight shines in this book. There is no question about it. It is the biggest part of this world that is expanded upon in book 2. The magic opens up so much. We learn where it comes from, what makes it special, and what hasn't been explored and why. Again, I can't say too much without going into spoilers, but if you like Threadlight in book 1, you are going to love Threadlight in book 2. Now, I have to admit, during Stones of Light, up until about the 75% mark, I was coasting on the, it's enjoyable, but I don't know whether it's better than book 1, other than the characters deepening and the magic system opening up, but everything went down in that last 25%. That last 25% had me sitting in one spot, not moving, turning pages, because I had to know what was happening next. Everything hit the roof in rapid succession. The plot thickened, new elements that had been foreshadowed in the first book came into play again at the end of the second book, and some of them had me shook. Some of that foreshadowing that came into play, and it was like a oh yeah moment for me as I was reading, which really excites me as a reader. So I definitely kept turning that page because I had to know what happened next. I was so gripped in that last 25% that I do expect to pick book 3 up fairly soon, probably in November, probably in new release November here on the channel. And also, we got to see Asher again, the Chroma Wolf, who is rad, and I love Asher as a animal companion. So far, Threadlight has been an enjoyable experience, and I look forward to continuing on with the series, but also continuing on with Zack's work and where he goes in the future. He's an author that I truly respect as an indie and self-published author. I think he does a lot for the community, especially surrounding the SPFBO competitions, and I'm really interested to follow his career wherever that may lead. If you like books that are fast-paced, they're a little bit more casual, there's not a whole lot of... I read dark books, so when I say there's not a whole lot of violence, there is violence, but it's not for someone who reads a lot of grimdark. It is fairly casual, fast-paced, adventure fantasy. If you like those books, they're on the shorter side. They're around the 3 to 350 page mark. Really quick reads, and it's a completed series now, so you can go out and read them all in a binge if you so choose. Those are the two books that I'm talking about today. We had Amarah by L.L. Macrae and also Stones of Light by Zack Arglye. If you have read these and love them, let me know in the comments down below. Are you looking forward to getting to either of those series? Let me know. If you like the content, give it one of those. If you want to see more of it, then click subscribe at your will, and I'll catch you in the next video. Ciao.